Good morning and welcome to Daily Tanya. Today is Friday, the 20th day of Sivan, and we continue chapter 7 in the Shar, Haychud, VA'amunah, the gate of unity, oneness of Hashem, and faith in Hashem. Let's begin with tzedakah. So we spoke yesterday, we discussed why does God hide from us? And we explained that there is Hashem that wants to be king over us. And to be king, you need to have a people. You cannot be, meaning on the one hand, there has to be some kind of connection, some kind of relationship. You cannot be a king and a bunch of ants crawling. It has to be people, but it has to be a people that are somewhat distant from you. You cannot be king over your own children. So this is the attribute of kingship, the malchus. And we explained that malchus, kingship, is the attribute that necessitates something outside of you. Other emotive attributes, you do not need something outside of you because it's connected with you, with yourself. You can have emotions towards another person. That person may not know the type of emotion that you have towards the person. Or even more so, if you go back deeper into yourself, a person can have an emotion or a character of being kind without doing kindness, without actually having someone to do kindness to. Because those are emotions that are connected more with you, with yourself. But when it comes to the attribute of kingship, to become king, to rule over, and this you need something outside of you, and that outside of you, the people, the subjects outside of you should accept you as king. So this, Alter Rebbe goes on to explain the idea that we say, Shema Yisrael, Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad, God is one. It means to say that really, ultimately, everything is Hashem. And he explained that there is the way to see it from, there's the higher level of oneness, the higher level of unity of Hashem, where it is the perspective from above that really everything comes from Hashem, and therefore, as far as it is within God, the thing do not really have a real existence. It's beyond existence. And then there is the oneness that we say, Baruch Hashem Kavod Malchus Olam Aved, blessed are the name of the glory of his kingship, the Olam Va'ed. We explained that the word Va'ed also has, by substituting the letters, the same meaning of Echad, which means one, but it is a lower level of oneness, lower level of unity. It is a level where the creature, the created being already perceives himself as a created being, but yet recognizes and sees that really everything comes from Hashem and is one with Hashem. So here the Alter Rebbe goes on to say that this is the meaning when we say the name of Hashem, but that we use Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud. We use it when we don't make the bracha, we say Adnai, but it's pronounced differently. Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud, very similar to Adnai. Now, when the blessing that we read, when we have the name of Hashem that is mentioned, it is not written in that way. It is written the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. Or sometimes it is written Yud, Yud. And the Gemara says that the name of Hashem, this tetragrammaton, the Yud, the K, and the Vav and Hey, is written in one way, but it is not pronounced in the same way. The reason why, because the name Havaya, the way it is written, it is a name that represents God that transcends time, transcends space. The world, the definition of world is a definition, it is defined by time and space. Hashem that transcends time, it's above our understanding. It is the real perspective from above, from God's perspective. The name Aleph, Dalet, Nun, Yud, the way we pronounce it, represents Adnut. Adnut means rulership. Rulership, you need to have subjects to rule. So then that name Adnut, which represents the attributes of Malchut, the kingship, they are responsible for the creation of subjects that are outside, that feel themselves separate, that are defined by space and time. So this, says the Alter Rebbe, this is the way we pronounce it, because that's what we can relate to. And the Alter Rebbe also says that there is also a combination of these two names, and that we'll explain shortly. So let's see how the Alter Rebbe says it inside. It says the Alter Rebbe, Vehine, Geder ubchinas shem oilam, neufel al bchinas mokim ubchinas man dafke. The term world can be applied solely to that which possesses the dimensions of space and time. Now when we're talking about space and time, we speak about not only physical space and time, even spiritual space. When I say a person is higher than the other person, could be a person is higher, not necessarily in a physical, it could be higher in a spiritual sense. The whole concept of space, whether physical or spiritual, is within the category of world. That's the term of world that is defined by space and defined by time. Space referring to east, west, north, and south, upward and downward. And time referring to past, present, and future. So only with regard to entities that are subject to the limitations of space and time, the term world can be applied. Continues the Alter Rebbe, all these dimensions of space and time have no relation to the holy supernal attributes of the world of Atzilus, the higher spiritual world, because those attributes are infinite. Where can there be somewhat of a connection to space and time? Only in the attribute of kingship, the Malchus, the lowest of the attributes, which is an attribute that already relates to outside of him. Only concerning the attributes of God's Malchus. Only there it is possible to say that he is king above without end, and below without limit, and likewise in all four directions. The same is true concerning the dimensions of time, meaning that the attribute of Malchus is in some small measure related to time, as it is written, Hashem Melech, Hashem Malach, Hashem Yimlech. As we say, it is written in the Siddur, Hashem, God reigns, God has reigned, and God will reign. So we see that in the term melech, which is malchus, kingship, that attribute is referred to as, you can relate it to past, present, and future. The other attribute, let's say, of chesed, it is talking about the very essence of kindness. And that is something that cannot be attributed and it cannot be related to past, present, and future because it's beyond space and beyond time. Venimtzo. Therefore, what do we learn here? So it comes out shechayus hamokam v'chein chayus hazman v'yisavusa me'ayin leyesh v'kiyumam kol zman kiyumam u'mimidas malchus yisborich v'shem adnus baruch hu. Therefore, he says the life force of space and likewise time, meaning where does time come from? Where does space come from? And they're coming into being from nothingness and their existence as long as they shall exist. They are from God's attribute of Malchus and from the name of Adnut, the Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud, Adnai. Now, so we have this attribute of Malchus that brings out something that is limited in space and time, but in the same time, this attribute is united with the very essence of Hashem. So you have this, we need to bring it together. How do you bring it together? You can bring it together as you look at from the higher perspective or as you look at from perspective from below. Now, since God's attribute of Malchus is united with his essence and being in an absolute union, as will be explained. Therefore, space and time, which are created from Malchus, are therefore also completely nullified in relation to God's essence and being. Just as the sunlight, while it is still within the orb of the sun, is nullified in the sun. The sunlight is nullified in the sun. And this is the meaning of the alteration of the letters of the name of Adnus with the letters of the name Havaya. Now, what does that mean? The alternation of the name Havaya and the name Adnus. So again, the name Havaya, Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey represents the godliness that transcends space and time. Adnus, Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud, represents the godliness, the way it is the source of space and time, the rulership of Hashem. And those two things are one. And the oneness, the union between these two names can be both ways. Can be from perspective of above, that is really nothing existing, and can be from perspective below. You look from the world and you see godliness. And that sometimes you can find it in some Sephardic siddhers, that those names are intertwined with each other, and it could be in two ways, depending on what perspective you look from above or below. Meaning, I'm going to show it to you. It's going to be easier to understand. Look over here. So when you have, here in this case, you have the Yud is the first letter. Then the third letter is the Hey. The fifth letter is the Vav. And the seventh letter is the Hey. And so that the Yud, the Hey, and the Vav, and the Hey, and between the Yud and this name, you have Aleph, Daled, Nun, Yud. So the first letter begins with the name of Havaya, and the second letter begins the name of Adnai. Then you have another way of writing it, that the first letter is the Adonai, and the second letter begins the name of Havaya, the Yud, the Hey, the Vav, and the Hey. Now, in the Kabbalah, the first is the more dominant. So when it begins with the Yud, so what is more dominant? The Havaya, the perspective from above, godliness that it transcends time and space. And when it begins with the letter Aleph, what is dominant is the perspective from below, the perspective of creation. That creation is nullified within Hashem, that creation feels itself as a separate existence, but nullified into God. So this is the alternation between the name Havaya and the name Adonai. And explains the name Havaya indicates that he transcends time, that he was, is, and will be all at the same instant. So it's beyond time, it's transcending time. As it is stated in Raya Mehemna and the Parsha Pinchas. And likewise, the name Havaya transcends space. Because Havaya continuously brings into existence the whole dimension of space, from the uppermost level of space to the lowermost level of space, and in all four directions. So this is, we understand now why when we say the name of Havaya is written in one way, but we pronounce it Adonai because we come from the perspective of below. It says, by the way, in the Holy Temple, the Cohen, the priests, that they would pronounce the name of Hashem, they would actually pronounce it in a way that we cannot understand, we cannot comprehend, which is the pronunciation that represents the godliness the way is above, because this is godliness that is revealed in this world. It brings the Yehud Ilah, the higher level of union that comes from above, from God's perspective. Sometimes it does come in the world. That's what happened in the Holy Temple. That's also what we read in this week's Torah portion. We read about the manna that the Jewish people ate in the desert. That was also a godly food that entered the physical world. What was the manna that they ate? It was physical food, but it was spiritual food. It was food that they tasted anything they wanted, they would like. It wasn't limited to one taste. It even wasn't limited to one kind of thing. That says it was also gems, pearls and diamonds that came from the manna. The manna didn't create waste. People didn't have to use their bathroom for 40 years. It is all because it is a godly revelation that entered the physical world. So we did have this, and we do have it. And that's all we're waiting for Hashem to be revealed in this world, that we should be able to see the godliness that will happen when Mashiach will come very soon. Amen. So have a wonderful day and a wonderful Shabbos, and we'll see you on Sunday. B'ezrat Hashem.